Let me grab the anchor blanket for you. Oh man, so we still haven't done we haven't officially recorded a jingle for the podcast. What was it? What'd you say?
What's the name of our pack? Is it Kids in Marriage or?
It's Kids in Marriage with Laura and Will.
Kids in Marriage, Laura and Will. Kind of like a Linda from Bob's Burgers kind of jingle.
Yes. All right. So one more time, and this is what we're going to officially use.
Why do I gotta do it?
Cause you sound better. Look, you want to hear my raspy version?
No, but I'd rather not be on the spotlight.
Okay. Well, I'll use that. I'm going to cut whatever Laura just did.
Kids in Marriage with Laura and Will.
All right. Cool. So in our title is Kids in Marriage, and we're actually talking on. Wait, we talked about kids last time, right?
Well, the whole thing is Kids in Marriage. This is our life. This is what we're talking about. Today, we're going to talk about the Kentucky incident and how we got married. So it's going to take a little interesting, serious, dramatic twist.
For sure. And I'll let you guys know up front, this is one of Will's complete fuck-ups. Will's worst
He did it.
decision. You could put this entire podcast scenario on me.
So I'm going to start.
All right, wait. Okay, yeah, you start. And then I'll go back if you don't start too soon.
So Will had went with this high school with this girl we're going to call Emily for the time being.
All right, I got to remember Emily.
We don't want to put anyone on blast. So he had went to school with her, and we had Eden. She invited us over for some bonfire or something with her and her boyfriend we'll call Justin.
So Emily and Justin, all right. I don't know if I'm going to remember these names by the end of this.
Don't spit out the real names. So Emily and Justin. So we go over there. Eden was a little baby at this time. We're having fun. Me and Emily became best friends. I really loved this girl. We did almost everything together. We did wedding dress shopping together.
She was pretty dope at the time.
Yeah, she was really cool. I loved her kids. They were cool. Justin was just overall a fucking asshole. Completely. Nobody liked Justin. Nobody liked him.
He was a little stiff. He
was really strict and weird and just an asshole. Really overprotective and just weird. So, time goes on. Justin ended up screwing over Emily, and Emily have decided to move out of state. First, she was going to go to a state I'm not going to say, and then she quickly decided she was going to move to Kentucky. Well, her first baby daddy, let's call him Gecko.
No, not Gecko. Let's go and be PJ Masks. Let's say
Jonathan.
No, I'm doing a vlog about John today.
John.
Hey, John. We miss you.
I don't know.
All right.
Let's call him...
This is why we couldn't pick out boy names on the spot, because we never can think of guy names like that.
We have all boys. Let's call him
right.
Joe.
No, let me get this one. You got the other first two.
It's not that big of a deal. Just pick one.
Okay, here we go. All right, first name that pops in my head is going to be... Steven? Oh, they're also
whatever.
Traditional.
So his name
is... Emily...
Justin,
and Steven.
So we're going to call him Steven.
Sounds like Pleasantville.
Steven was head over heels in love with Emily to a T. And John, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure you know exactly who we're talking about.
I like Steven, though.
I don't like Steven.
I mean, Steven had his flaws, but Steven was
a cunt, and he was a little pussy ass bitch.
That was my nigga.
He was a little whipped.
He was willed.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
You're right.
So Steven had moved to Kentucky and stayed with some friends who are kind of irrelevant, so they don't matter. Until he got on his feet. He finds them this beautiful house. He puts all these bills in his name and everything. And Emily's like, Steven, me and Justin are completely over. I love you. We're going to be together. Everything's going to be great. We're going to have a family again. All that bullshit. So me and Will were shit broke. I mean, we had maybe $20 to our name plus food stamps. We had to take care of Eden. I was pregnant with King. I had decided to go back to school for a little while.
So let me interject real quick because I do want to give a little bit of background to this. So stepping a little bit back, I'm going to take you guys on That was actually the main story.
Well, I'm still talking.
I know.
So what are you gonna say?
But I gotta.
I'm trying to start. I'm trying to give him a baseline of how we got married, why we got married so fast.
But I want to give him a baseline of why we didn't get married until.
Well, because we had
then.
no friends, and we were broke.
Well, don't spoil
We
my
had
part.
started planning a wedding with Emily. She was our wedding planner and everything. And we went dress shopping together. I had bridesmaids picked out. But that's a different story of what happened with those bridesmaids for another day.
All right, I'll touch on the whole should I get married, when you should, all that on the very end of this. So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Continue.
So we were living out in a town called Candler. It's a suburb of Asheville. And our landlord was batshit crazy.
Oh, she was psycho.
She was fucking psychotic. I don't even know if I wouldn't say racist because her fucking daughter was Mexican, but I don't even know. She was just fucking crazy. And she would come.
Although it was the cheapest rent we ever paid.
She would come in our house and like drink all for like hours, and she was crazy. So we decided, or should I say Will decided, that we should move to Kentucky because we had went to visit Emily.
So let me give you my stupid ass.
I'm not done.
But I got it.
I know, but I'm telling them why you wanted to move to Kentucky.
All right, you point your fingers over this way when you're ready for.
Okay, so shut up.
No, you shut up.
So we had went to visit them in Kentucky, and by them I mean Emily and Steven. Remember, Steven is the baby daddy, not the asshole Justin. So we went to go visit them, and Will fell in love with how cheap everything was and how beautiful the landscape was, while I'm more of this town looks really racist. It looks like something out of an old Western movie where you're gonna get shot in a cowboy alien fucking weird pub or something. I was completely against moving to Kentucky. I thought it was the dumbest idea ever. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. It's a bad idea. Will, on the other hand, was like, but we can have Emily and Steven help us.
Story. Okay, I'm gonna cut you off right there. I gotta give you've been talking for like 5 minutes now. So let me give you a little bit of reflection. Remember, I said this was like a big ass fuck up. So let me give you, let me tell you why I did what I did and why you should never do that. So to bounce off of what Laura was saying, we ended up going to Kentucky. We saw everything was so cheap. At the time, I was working 2 jobs. Both of them were minimum wage or like close to minimum wage. I was working the Grand Bohemian hotel, pulling 40 hours as a what is it, houseman, house something, I don't know. And then I'd get off in the afternoon and go over to Zaxby's and work till pretty much 11 p.m. And I do that pretty much 5-6 days a week because my schedules never matched up at the Grand Bohemian nor at Zaxby's. So to give a pretty much a top level picture of this, Laura was at home with Eden, stuck in Candler with no car, because of course I was taking it all day long. So she was there dealing with that, while I'd wake up about 7 a.m. to get to work at 8 a.m. at the hotel, work all day, work all night.
You're dragging on.
Oh no, this is good. No, this is good.
He would leave the house before the kids woke up and got home way after they were asleep.
And I thought to myself, this is some bullshit. Like, this is not what life is. I'm not able to see Eden. I'm not able to see my wife. I work 6 days a week, and I still am not bringing enough money in to pay the bills and
we couldn't afford
anything.
Daycare, so I couldn't just go back to work.
So this is what broke the camel's back or whatever. Tell them about our car trouble.
Well, we had got the Mitsubishi way before we decided to move to Kentucky. But anyway, our car broke down, and we had to go to Benchmark to lease the car. That was a piece of shit car.
That was actually a pretty interesting night when it did break down.
And, well, that's not part of the story, so. Anyway, we decided the spur of the moment. It was September 10th.
You should say will, not we.
Well, I supported him and his cuckoo idea, even though I knew it was a bad idea, that we were going to fucking suck it up and move to Kentucky. So we had messaged Emily and talked to her with her, and she was like, all I want to know is why. And we told her a reasoning why, And she's like, okay, you know, that's completely fine. You guys can stay with me until you get back on your feet.
And-
So we were thinking that I don't know any doctors out there. I'm doing a month with this baby.
Oh, yeah, straight prego, like super prego.
So I'm due with this baby in a month. I don't want to leave. So I'm going to stay with my mom. And Will is going to go to Kentucky and basically pull a Steven and get me and the kids set up there. And then after the baby was here, we would move.
Steven was my nigga till the very end.
Anyway, so we decided if we're going to do that, we need to go get married. We have been engaged for like 3 years. It was time to make it official. So
And
we're running
that-
around all day trying to find witnesses. Ended up being my mom and my sister. And we went to the courthouse, and it was all done in one day.
It was a very, very bittersweet moment for Laura and I. One, because we really did have these plans and ideas of what our wedding should be, the traditional set. And don't get me wrong, we're not talking about the fancy $1 million wedding. We thought, okay, let's plan out our wedding and spend a couple grand on it, like $2,000, and make it all work, compared to like $15,000 and $30,000 paid by the dad and all that. So we already had a very frugal idea, and for us to all automatically be like, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and just do this. No friends, no nothing, just spare the moment. It was cool to be like, oh, we did it, but it also was like, wow.
Everyone was pissed.
Yeah, they're like, what? You're married? And what? What's going on? Like, this is weird.
So my mom had ended up taking Eden that night, and we had went out to Tupelo Honey for our honeymoon dinner. And the next day,
Was the food good?
Yeah. The next day, Will had packed the entire house and moved to Kentucky. As I drove away, it was like something out of a movie. I can see him in my rearview mirror as I'm driving to my mom's house. And I'm crying so hard. It's pouring rain. My cruise control isn't working. It's like everything that could go wrong. And I still had to get Eden in time to take him to daycare that day. And by this time, it was September 11th. So Will ended up packing up the entire house and putting it in a U-Haul and driving 6 hours to Kentucky, where Emily awaited with the bitch. This is when she turned into a narcissistic, conniving little bitch.
Okay, so definitely so, but in our like, we let them know. I don't think they realized how much stuff we had. Like
I did tell her. It was like, a lot of stuff.
We had a lot of shit. And just so anyone that's going to comment below, like, well, why the fuck did you just move to Kentucky? What happened? Like, what? It was really like to the point where our car payments were getting so far behind that they were cutting our car off every single week, where I couldn't even make it to work. Where pretty much it was a moment where it was like, I'm going to lose my job because I can't get to work because we're out in the country. What the hell do we do with this last $600? And so I get to Emily's house. Is that what we're calling her? I get to Emily's house and oh my
was there
God,
to help
you should have
unpack.
saw her face, Laura. It was just like, or no, that's right. Yeah, Steven was there, and I remember seeing her face when she got home. Like, what the fuck is all this shit? I probably would have been the same way too. Like,
Anyway,
it was a lot of shit.
So that night, me and Will had ended up FaceTiming or Skyping, and Emily had put her 2 cents in of how we were going to handle our relationship and our finances.
And this is where I fucked up. Like,
Will ended up taking her side and was like, we need to get rid of the benchmark car. We need to let our car insurance lapse. We need to do this, and that. You need to send me your food stamps card and everything. And I'm sitting here stuck in my mom's house, pregnant with no job. Apparently now everyone wants me to get rid of my transportation and let our insurance lapse, which is a horrible idea. And not have any money for food or any way to get it because he wanted the food stamps card.
And at face value, it seemed like a logical decision where it was like, okay, we get rid of
It was logical for you.
let me tell the damn story. Ass. So it seemed logical, like from where I was standing. I was just thinking about kind of like, okay, what can we do to cut everything out so that we can start fresh? And obviously cutting off the benchmark car, which costed us $75 per week, plus the insurance we were paying, seemed like the best idea. But on the flip of that, we just had got Eden in daycare. She was pregnant. She needed to be able to get to her appointments. And yeah, the dick in me was like, okay, well, you know, someone can give you a ride, or you can, you know, do this. And that technically she could have, but really that was the wrong thing, period.
I mean, I was
like
alone.
Oh, there goes the baby. Hold on, guys.
So I'm gonna talk.
Okay, yeah,
So I was alone. Me and my mom living together. We just don't agree. We're always arguing. It was hell. Same with my sister. I basically would just keep me and Eden out the house as much as possible. So it got to the point where I didn't want to talk to either of them anymore, and I was done. So that was the end of that. And it just kept going on and on and on with give me the car, or get rid of the car. And Emily had kept Facebook messaging me, I mean, every day. I'm sick of him paying all your bills, living in my house, eating my food. Granted, at this time, I had already agreed to send him the food stamps card. He had already got the food stamps card and bought $400 worth of food for their house. For everyone, not just for him. And so it was like she was being all mean to me. What are you doing? She was being all mean to me, and then being all buddy in Will's face, like, I don't mind having you here. I don't mind your stuff here. Yeah, you can hang that up. And then she messaged me, you need to come get your shit out my house. I can't stand having your husband here. You're spending all his money. What are you doing? You don't even need to go to your doctor's appointments. Granted, I was having a heart condition where my heart was beating so fast, it was at rest, but it was like I was working out. And my doctor at one point couldn't understand how I wasn't having a stroke or a heart attack. It was beating so fast. I had to have heart monitors. I was being monitored for preeclampsia. And she was telling me, do not go to your doctor's appointments. You need to get rid of that car. Your husband needs to get out of my house.
So to come back to that,
I would go off on Will and be like, look, this is it. You need to come home. I can't do this by myself. I need help. She's messaging me this, and this. And Will just is like, well, she's not doing that to me.
It was
and
so
at the
true,
point,
too. I was like, what the hell is she talking about? I was like, who's... And of course, I was like, yeah, put two and two together. But Laura's...
At that point, you still took her side, though.
So...
You were saying that I was basically over-exaggerating the situation.
True. I did say that. So you guys just got a taste of what shit day Laura was going through every single day in Asheville. On the flip side of that, and take it that we're newlyweds technically apart, I had to figure out, I'm sure you guys know the pain and struggles of starting completely over. If you don't, then I'm sure life will hit you eventually. But for us, the whole goal was to figure out a way to get a house and a car and a stable job in 1 to 2 months. A freaking giant mess of stuff to figure out, but it was the only thing. There was no other option, or at least that's not how, I didn't see any other option from it. So I put my head together. I tried to apply for jobs in Kentucky, which, like, okay, it's not like Asheville. It's not like the city. Everything is 30 to an hour away. So that was already a bad way to start. I tried for like 4 or 5 days, like called everyone in the yellow pages, asked if they were hiring. I looked on Craigslist, all of that. Non-stop, and all they really saw was like Will's just sitting at his computer doing shit nothing. So I'm sure that put them in a bad mood. When I I finally talked to Steven. I was like, Steven, man, like, I'm having a hard time figuring this out. I don't want to be like, I know I'm putting a lot on you guys. Do you have any ideas? And he said, well, Steven worked a mechanic job, a tire shop job at the time. He was like the assistant manager type of thing. So it was like, my boss really does need some help. I bet if you come in here and prove yourself, come in as like just free help for like a couple of weeks or something and prove to him that you're worth something, that he'll hire you, and that'll be a way to do it. The pay's not going to be good, but it's something. I was like, bet, I'll take anything. I will take anything. So the job was an hour away, and he worked 12-hour shifts. So I'd go in every single day. I wouldn't say it's tough work. It was hard work, but it wasn't nothing compared to what I had to face after that. And long story short, at the end of those 2 weeks, the boss still didn't want to hire me. It was just like I wasted 2 weeks of hard labor, waking up while Laura was dealing with shit at home, yelling back and forth on the phones about Emily telling her this and me that. Like, it was a complete stress nightmare. You want to intersect with that, and then I'll tell the rest of my job story.
At this point, we couldn't afford our payments for our car anymore. Our insurance has lapsed, so I had to borrow the money from my mom to keep my car on for a month and pay a month or two's worth of insurance, plus the fact that it lapsed, so I had to recover that fee. So at this point, I'm pissed. Gas is getting low. I'm running out of money and things to do with Eden. At this point, Will had sent me back the food stamps card, and he decided to get a job at a factory, Toyotoma, and I think they push like Toyota car hoods or something.
Yeah, so one of the guys that worked at the tire shop mentioned a temp agency, and I had never tried a temp agency and didn't know anything about it. But at that point, when you don't have shit, you don't have any money coming in, you will take anything and everything that you can. It does not matter whether it's a garbage man, it's a factory job, it's just, you'll take anything so that you can supply for your family. So Steven was generous enough to let me use his car to kind of like go over to this high temp agency to apply for the factory job. And I had $50 to my name. I brought $50 from Candler, and I knew I'd needed to save that money until the very last, like nothing else. And I'd already spent like 15 of it, so I had $35 left. I ended up landing the job at Toyotoma. They created hoods for Toyota cars and doors. Take it at these hoods and anyways. But it required me to get work boots. So I was able to spend that last tiny bit of money on work boots and got into the factory. I was so happy. I came home.
So this was another thing Emily would bitch me about. Your husband's using our cars to get to and from work. You need to give him your car that you have. And at this point, I'm like, oh, bet. So I was right for keeping the car. Right?
I remember that.
And Will was like, yeah, you're right. She wouldn't admit it. So her being narcissistic was like, Will, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy you got this job. You're closer to getting out of my house. Laura, I'm sick of your stuff being in my house, and your husband needs to help out with babysitting.
She's
and
not
pay
exaggerating,
rent.
I swear.
Like, she was going off of me. I mean, like, wee hours in the morning. She had nothing better to do. And at this point, her and Steven were having relationship troubles because she was getting back with Justin, and Steven at this point was blaming it on me and Will, saying that we were causing problems, when really she's just a narcissistic bitch, and you shouldn't even be dealing with her because you're too good for her.
I remember spitting some suggested advice to Steven, and I don't know if he was just blind by Emily and all that, but like did do a lot for her, and it wasn't he did a lot for her with the idea that it would be reciprocated in love. Okay. But not to get onto that subject.
So Will had taken a Greyhound.
Wait, no, don't jump there yet.
We're there.
We ain't there.
You were coming to get the car.
No, I gotta tell about my horrible experience at the factory.
Okay, but you still experienced it after you came and got the Mitsubishi.
Fine, all right.
This is getting a long podcast. We gotta cut something.
Okay, hold on, let me see. You're right, we are. We got about
So shush, stop rambling on. Let me
You're right. You speed this shit up.
So anyway, Will had taken a Greyhound, which wasn't easy. He had to go like to a McDonald's or something to get the money, and my mom had got the ticket for him or something like that. And he had taken the Greyhound to Asheville, and I picked him up at the Greyhound. I was so happy. Eden was happy to see his dad. And then he was only there for a day or two before he started this job, really started it, and left with the Mitsubishi. So at this point, I'm like getting ready to have this baby, and my son was exposed to croup. Croup is something that they vaccinate for in series. Eden had started the first rounds of vaccination for croup since it's an 18-month shot. So it affected him, but not wholly. So I go to the doctor, and I'm like looking like I'm about to pass out. My blood pressure is skyrocketed. My feet are so swollen. I have to wear sandals because they won't fit in shoes. And the doctor is like, we're going to induce you today. So I'm like, hell yeah. Now I got to get a hold of Will, which was not easy because his phone was off. All
right. So 30 seconds of my shit horrible job at the factory, and then we're going to jump into getting home. So 30 seconds to give you an idea of what my day was like. I would wake up 6 a.m., go with Steven to his job so that I can take his car to work. Worked 4 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning, like 12, 13-hour shifts, and was an hour away. And then I'd speed home. I'm talking about 100 miles per hour. Speed back to the place just to get back at 6 a.m. Feeling like I was going to wreck the car every single time, to hear Laura tell me about all this shit that she just went through with Emily. And then I'd get like 3 hours of sleep, maybe, max, and do it all over again. It was the life that no one should ever experience. Go.
So I get to the hospital. They're saying they're going to induce me, and I'm all excited. My sister's staying with me. My mom is staying with my kid. And I couldn't get a hold of Will because he's still on that third shift schedule, so he was sleeping at this point. So I finally get a hold of him through Facebook because both our phones were off. We couldn't afford to pay the bill.
Yep.
And he rushed down. It took exactly 6.5 hours for him to get to Asheville. And I'm telling you, the minute he walked through the door is the minute they started my induction.
I was so scared I was going to miss the birth of King. That was the biggest fear I had. That was the biggest one. Like, I get it. Lord Jesus. All right.
Then I have the baby. At this point, Emily had blocked me from Facebook itself, but she didn't block me from Facebook Messenger. So we have the baby, but she didn't block Will because she's all buddy-buddy with Will. And I had the baby. He sent her picture. They were supposed to give him a few days for the baby. I guess they did not. They wouldn't give him his job back.
And I was like, if I got to start over, fuck this. I'm starting in Nashville. I learned my goddamn lesson. This is...
So he comes back to Asheville with nothing but the Mitsubishi and starts getting a job here for Continental, which isn't through another it's another... You're rambling. I'm going to finish this.
All right, you finish
So the day that he has this interview, Miss Emily had decided to take a picture of my kids' stuff. If it had been my stuff, if it had been Will's stuff, it would not have aggravated me. But the fact that she took my kids' stuff and posted it with a sign that says, "Free, come get your shit," on Facebook when she knew that we were coming to get it. She knew we were coming that day or the next day. We had set it in stone. No, she wants to be a massive cunt and do this. So I went the fuck off. I was like, bitch, I will literally kill you. You're messing with my children's livelihood, and I'm not gonna fuck with that. I will literally beat the living shit out of you. And she's like, if you dare touch me, I'm gonna call the cops. Granted, Emily lives in fucking Kentucky, so of course my little Puerto Rican self is not about to sit in a racist ass goddamn jail. So no, I didn't do what I intentionally wanted to do. Mind you, I just had a baby a week ago who was breastfed. I had to leave him. I had to leave my other son with my mom and my sister and go to Kentucky with Will and fit whatever we could in our 4-door sedan Mitsubishi Galant. We destroyed her house.
This was the very first day. We remember that was the very first day I started Continental too. So I had to be back for my job for the first day from Kentucky, like from driving from Kentucky.
We destroyed that house. We took knives and just cut open bags that we didn't want and just threw it all over the floor.
To clarify, we didn't destroy her house. All the stuff that we had to leave behind, she had a huge ass mess to clean up.
I mean, I definitely went out of my way to dump everything on the floor and not give a living fuck if she cleaned it up or not.
Truth.
So we packed what we could and we left and never talked to her again.
So
because she's a narcissistic guy.
That is our marriage story, but I want to get into
Now
few
we're
Q&A questions that I feel like a lot of people have. Whew, what a marriage story. So Laura, when should someone get married?
I don't want to say when you're in love because getting married too soon is not necessarily a good thing. But when you're to the point where you spend almost every single day together and you cannot see yourself without this person, get married.
Let's talk rings. Is the ring important? Be honest.
Yes, the ring's important. Doesn't necessarily have to be big and flashy, no. But to me, the ring does symbolize that you're taken. If I didn't wear a ring, nobody would know I was married, and I'd be free game to hit on.
What about the expense of the ring?
Not necessarily. I mean, as long as it's not going to turn your finger green, I don't think it really matters.
That's kind of, in my mind, I for the longest time, I had this, and I still do. Like, this is like just one of those things I shouldn't, but it is part of what I want to give to Laura. But for me personally, you can give me a $20 ring. I think my wedding ring, it's a
$40.
Batman.
I got it on Amazon. It's surgical steel. It has Batman. And
Damn
it's
right.
Awesome.
It's like $40. I love that it is so cheap. I love that Laura didn't have to spend $2,000 whatever amount on it. Although I do want to get Laura a nicer ring eventually. I know it's like a weird double standard where like.
Well, the one I want's only like $340, but for a ring, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
And it comes with the band and the ring.
So, jumping from rings, planning out a wedding. If you are serious about getting married, what should you do? How did we start?
We started with a schedule and a budget, and I think we only got as far as to picking out what dress I wanted, which I found the perfect dress, and I really, really wanted it, but the wedding itself just wasn't worth it to me because we had no one to invite.
Right, so yeah,
Don't get wrong.
It's crazy, like when you think about weddings that you're inviting 50, 100, 200 people, like, are they really all your close friends? For real? And the expense you're providing? Like, no.
The only people I'd probably invite would be like my mom, my nieces and nephews, my kids, and my bridal party. That would literally be...
Yeah, like a handful. We wanted to have that was the original plan. It still is. Like, we definitely want to have a ceremony.
I'd rather have a
definitely
honeymoon.
Want to have a freaking honeymoon. Yes, bitch, yes. We need a honeymoon away from the kids. We never got one. We got robbed from it.
Yeah, thanks, Emily.
So last question. Do you want to ask me one question and then we'll cut this one off for the week?
If we could do it again, would you do it?
Hell to the no. Like, I think a big part of this, and I think this is a good way to kind of wrap this up, is when you're going through really, really tough stuff, like really you're down, those are the times when you need to be able to trust, understand, and have like absolute confidence and faith in like your partner. And I feel like the reason why we fucked up so hard was because I thought I had the ultimate plan, or I thought that I, did it. And Laura probably was like, okay, Will, this is a crappy, horrible idea. I don't want to do this, but I trust you. You got us, right? Nah. So definitely when you're married, any relationship, and this is also another thing that's just coming back. Shut up. I feel like every relationship will improve like double when you start to really allow your partner to be exactly who they are and trust that they love you for you and not for any other stupid ass whatever. Is that anything else you got, Laura?
No, I think we went over our max.
We did. Thank you guys again for the questions, the comments, the love.
Let's get some more questions. Ask us more questions.
Please. All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
With love. Bye. Peace.